Hey everybody, this is Steve. Wanted to record a video to give you some general feedback on the drafts for the formal recommendation report, the drafts that everybody posted, and the presentations, the micro presentations everybody posted. I don't know if I have a particular order for this or not, but I guess I'll start with the things that are on my mind first. The first thing is that quite frankly, a lot of these are pretty incomplete. A lot of these are very sketchy and not really where they should be at this point. And the reason why this is a problem, why this disappoints me, is that this isn't exactly a new project, right? I mean, this was something that we introduced in class, we began talking about in class at the beginning of November. There was a series of progress reports you were supposed to complete in November before Thanksgiving about where the project was going. We devoted a lot of time in class, not in class literally because it's an online class, but in lieu of other things going on in the class to working on this. So I realized that Thanksgiving's a problem, and I realized that maybe what I should have done is forced everybody to turn in a draft and complete a draft on before Thanksgiving, and maybe that would have gotten people to get a little bit more motivated to finish this stuff up. But the bottom line is that I gave everybody a lot of time to work on this project, and it seems like a lot of people didn't take advantage of that. And I think that's too bad because there's a clear difference between the folks who did spend a lot of time with it and the folks that didn't. That's thing number one. Thing number two, a couple people brought up sort of concerns about, well, we didn't have any directions and guidelines about how to do this. And I have to say, I really disagree with that. If you look at the assignment itself, I think that the assignment itself is pretty clear about what it is that what it is what we're asking for here. I spell this out in terms of details about the parts that you need, about where you're going to need it, about when the parts that you need, the sort of things it's supposed to be about, the length, the kinds of parts of it, and so forth. I think that's spelled out in the assignment. I also think if you go back and look at the discussion that we've had in class over the last month or so, you'll see that there's quite a bit of direction towards what these reports are supposed to be looked at. So, for example, look at the discussion that took place that started on November 2nd, talking about readings for the formal reports. There we talk about a presentation that makes a distinction between what's a formal report, what's an informal report. We talk about this reading from Dave McMurray, where he's talking about the report design, and I spell out in detail the different parts of the report that you're going to need to have. Okay, and there's quite a bit of comment, quite a bit of discussion on this thread too. I mean, it's not like I was the only one who brought things up and people asked questions and so forth. So that's thing number two. Thing number three, you'll notice that one of the things that I say about in this discussion back in November 2nd is that you have to do some research on this. And the research for this, as I've talked about all, to the course of this project, the research for this is a little bit different than you might have for other kinds of projects because it does involve some sort of classic library research, looking stuff up on the internet and things like that. But it also involves contacting people on campus to ask them about specific plans that you have. Because remember, this project is supposed to be very local to the things on campus. And so that would require you to actually contact people and talk to them and do that kind of research. Some of you did that and some of you didn't. And if you haven't done that yet, you need to do it pretty soon. One other thing I want to mention about the research thing, and I talk about this in the assignment in a couple different places of discussion and so forth, you have to have a works cited page. What I mean by that is that if you're going to quote from different outside sources or from interviews or anything like that, you need to have some sort of indication of citing your research. If you don't cite your research, that's plagiarism. And if you plagiarize something, you will fail the class. If you have any questions about whether or not you're plagiarizing something, or if you're about to plagiarize something, for goodness sakes, be sure to ask. Because if you turn something in at the end of the semester and I'm looking through it and I'm saying, wow, they just lifted big, huge chunks of something out of a website and didn't say anything about it, I'll just fail you because that's what it is. Plagiarism is sort of the ultimate penalty, if you will, or the ultimate foul that you can commit in the game of academia. So you have to make sure that you cite your sources and you include where they come from. That's not difficult to do either because you learned about this in freshman composition, things like using an MLA citation or APA citation or something like that. And I'm not really, for our purposes in this class, I'm not really particular about what citation format you follow as long as you follow a citation format. Okay. So I'm concerned about the amount of stuff that people have done in these reports so far. I'm concerned about the research that people have done in these reports so far, and I'm concerned about sort of like some of the citation sort of stuff that's going on with these reports so far. A variety of different ideas here. Some of them are better than others, but I think that there's going to be plenty of different choices for people to make in terms of what reports to look at as the ones to vote for the final project. I will say this as a way to sort of, I don't know if this exactly tips my hat in terms of the sort of things that I'm going to be thinking of voting for. Of course, I get to vote as the teacher. Um, I think if you're sitting watching this video and you're struggling with the idea of like what is it that he's after here with this report, I guess the one that I would suggest you to look at right now, because I think it's the most complete of the projects I've seen so far, is the one that Natasha submitted. And I haven't talked with Natasha about this, and I hope this isn't embarrassing her or anything like that. But go look and see her in progress formal report. And if when you do that, you'll see the research is all there. She conducted interviews, she conducted surveys, she has an explanation for why her project should work. Her micro presentation is clear and to the point. I mean, that's a complete package for me. And so for me, as I'm looking at it as an example to share with you of like what these should look like, we'll look at what she did, because I think that it would definitely be a good model to follow. A lot of other people are on the right path, by the way. A lot of other people have some really good ideas. A lot of other people have, clearly a good work in progress. And I don't want to suggest that that everybody dropped the ball on this, because that's far from true. I just want to. Most people still need to do some things to finish this up in terms of the research, the works cited, all that kind of stuff like that. And I think that you're going to have some choices to vote for the top 5 presentations. I'm just concerned that a lot of people seem to be kind of far behind on this, which is a little bit dangerous at this time of the semester. Okay, let me talk a little bit about the schedule, about where we're at here, and how this is going to wrap up. If you noticed the schedule before, I made some changes in terms of some of the due dates and some of this stuff. So now the final version of your formal recommendation report is going to be due on Wednesday, December 10th. By the end of the day, Wednesday, December 10th, you need to have all your changes done. Also, by Wednesday, December 10th, you need to have the final second half of the term participation grade discussion email sent to me. So in other words, sometime next week, by Wednesday of next week, send me an email saying, this is the grade I think I should get for participation for the second half of the term and why. Okay, it's just like the discussion we had for the first half of the term. It's for the second half of the term. And remember that this isn't about the papers or the projects that you did for the class. It's just about the interactions that we had online, about the peer review process, things like that. Okay, both of those things are due on Wednesday. Thursday, December 11th, you need to have a vote for what you think of as being the top of recommendation report from the class. I'll set up a survey for that early next week, Monday or Tuesday of next week. But basically, what it's going to come down to is going to be another Google Docs survey. Everyone will get one vote to vote for what they think of as the best presentation, the one that should win the prize. And I will give the top 5 vote getters A's. That's just by definition. If you were one of the top 5 projects, you will get an A for this grade, or for this project. 2 important things about that. Number 1 is you cannot vote for your own project. That should seem kind of obvious. And number 2, if you are one of the top 5 vote getters, you will get an A. But that doesn't mean that you can't get an A if you're not one of the top 5 vote getters, if that makes any sense. So I get to weigh in on that as well too. That's due by Thursday, December 11th. Now there's no final for the class, and really everything should be wrapped up as far as where you're at with the grade and everything else goes like that by about December 11th or so. But if there is anything outstanding due for the class, it's due by 5 p.m. on December 15th. That's the end of the time for the course. We'll talk a little bit about that next week. One last thing that I'll mention here is there's an online evaluation process for online courses. Now, I never see this until the course is way over with. I'll hear about this from EMU Online folks sometime in like February or something like that. And I also have no way of distributing this either. I think that I think you've probably received an email for this, or maybe there's a post on EMU Online or something. I don't know. If somebody wants to let me know how this evaluation stuff gets distributed, I'd be curious to know. Anyway, I'd be really curious what your opinions are about the class, and about things that I could do differently, things that you thought went particularly well, things like that. So if you could take some time to fill out that survey, I'd really appreciate it. That'd be a good thing to do between now and the end of next week too. Okay, I think that's about it. Now listen, if you have any discussions, concerns, whatever, questions about this project, for the love of God, this is a good time to ask, because we're running out of time. So down below here, be sure to ask those questions, and we can have a discussion about what to do about revising these projects, which will be finally due on December 10th. Okay, I'll see you online.